But I'm going to talk about the Great Rite and ritual sex. Now, today, most traditions and most covens will demonstrate or symbolize the union of the god and goddess, which is the original reason of the Great Rite, by the athame and the chalice. The chalice is feminine, the athame is male, and they will do this symbol right here in order to symbolize the union of the masculine and feminine energies of the universe. God and goddess, Lord and Lady, whatever it is that you refer to it as. Ritual sex is done by two consenting adults, usually by two adults that are already in an established sexual relationship. Ritual sex is done as a means of symbolism, as demonstrated by most Wiccans by uniting the chalice feminine and the athame masculine. And the Great Rite is ritual sex symbolizing the union of the god and goddess. It's also an enactment of the creation of the universe itself in some Wiccan traditions. In other words, some Wiccan traditions will perform this ritual sex to demonstrate the creation of life and the universe. Sometimes ritual sex or sacred sex is done to bring a spiritual connection between a couple, between two people, to generate and raise power. When you have sex, like I talked about in the ghost video that I did, when your emotions and your passion, your emotions, whether it's fear, whether it's anger, whether it's joy or passion, it's going to generate a lot of electricity in your body because your heart's having to go into overdrive, your brain is signaling all, shooting all these hormones and signals and all the stuff throughout your body and while you're having sex, and so it's a really good way to generate power. And a lot of times, it's not even done in front of everybody. A lot of times, two people, the high priest, will have the sex to generate the power or to symbolize the union, and then afterwards, have everyone else in the coven around. Okay, if you're doing sex for a spiritual bonding, both parties have to have that desire and that intent for it to really work.
Hey, this is Dragon Feather, and I'm going to be talking about Christian Wicca. What it is, basically, different ways people practice Christian Wicca, and my opinion on it. So first and foremost, the way that people use the god and the goddess aspect of Christian Wicca is, the first part is they use the goddess as Mary and the god as Jesus. Now, if you think about it, that does make sense, because our goddess, for Wicca, the goddess gives birth to the god, Mary gave birth to Jesus. And so that's one of many ways that Christian Wiccans use their pantheon kind of thing. Another thing is, and that way they just work with those two, like god and goddess, I guess you could say. Another way is they have God, like, how you say, oh my god, like God from the religion, and you could have another goddess, like, say, Isis or Aphrodite or Hecate as their patron goddess, and they would have those two working together. So, the practicing ways is because some of them, instead of living by the Wiccan Rede, they'll live by the Bible. That will be their religious text, or they live through both. And then another thing is, with symbolism, they might not use a pentacle, they might use the cross instead. Like if you see on my altar how I have my pentacle right there, they would have a cross instead. They would have statues of archangels, maybe. They might work with angels a lot. That's another really prominent thing about Christian Wicca. But there is such thing as the Holy Spirit in this religion. And they refer to the Holy Spirit as we refer to just spirit. And they would use the elements. They're probably very into nature, because Wicca is a nature religion, nature-based religion, and they would do practices outside in nature, like they do now. But for the people who don't use the Bible, who just use the Christian gods, the Christian principles, or the Ten Commandments, they would take that into Wicca, and they would be witchcrafty, but they would use like Jesus and God in their practice.
My name is Ra, broadcasting on behalf of 13signsastrology.com. The reason for this video is because I want to go into a little hidden and occult information in regards to the sexual act, in regards to sex magic and sex rituals. It's a spiritual act. According to the ancients, sex was the way and the method by which you got close to God. What I mean by God is the God from within, or the deity from within, or the Most High from within, or the higher self. See, it was through the act of sex, beloved. It was through the act of sex and the performance of sex, which was the method and means by which one got close to their higher self. Many of you may not have heard of this, but there's something called the Kundalini and the raising of the Kundalini. And one of the main ways, this is not the only way, because there's about 4 ways that I know about, but I'm going into this one way right now. But one of the main ways, because this is the easiest way to do it, but one of the main ways in raising the Kundalini is through the sexual act. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Kundalini is an energy. It's an energy, beloved, that's located and that starts in the base of the spine, which is our lower chakra area. It starts at the base of the spine and it raises up the spinal cord. And the Kundalini energy raises up. If you can raise it up this high, because most people don't raise it up this high, but the idea is to raise the Kundalini energy up into your third eye, and then out your crown chakra and into your 5 transpersonal chakras, which are located above your head, because you have 12 chakras. Some say actually 13, believe it or not, because there's a hidden chakra. But you have 13 chakras, but it's through the Kundalini that you raise your vibration and raise and open your third eye so that you can raise your vibration and become more spiritual, and so that you can meet the Most High. And the way that you meet the Most High is through the sexual act, one of the ways. And the way to do this is through raising the Kundalini energy, which is located at the base of the spine. I mean, there's sexual rituals that you can perform. Just a lot of stuff that people don't know, because we don't get into the occult. See, we don't want to deal with the occult. Like, we want to stay dealing on the religious paradigm, and the Christian pastors aren't teaching this type of information. And I mean, I guess they feel bad about it, I don't know, but the bottom line is that sex is really how you get spiritual. So
And both of you remember to go on your honeymoon. Just remember what that honeymoon represents, okay? Remember to anoint one another. Remember, before you come together in the flesh, make sure you anoint each other's lips and other parts. And just, you know what to do. But you always have to remember that
Daring to make a difference. TJ Brook 88.